Welcome back to English 4.0, the radio show. Let's go! Advanced. Hello there, and welcome back to the show. Welcome to the advanced portion of class number 105. Getting started, as always, with a little review. Excuse me, I'm still swallowing my water here. I only have a few minutes for a break. It's a long class, isn't it? I have the beginner portion, and then about 3 minutes, and then the intermediate, and then the advanced class, and if I have to run to the toilet, I've got to be quick. If I want to drink, well, I'd better be quick. Well, but I do feel better after having a glass of water. After plus gerund. Do you remember that? We talked about that yesterday. Did you review your notes after listening to yesterday's show? Did you review your student guide after listening to yesterday's show? Did you? Yes, Kyle. I reviewed my student guide after listening to yesterday's show. Did we practice the intermediate material after finishing the beginner material? Yes. We practiced the intermediate material after finishing the beginner material. Did you have a drink after finishing work yesterday? Maybe. Yes, I did. I had a drink after finishing work. Ask me if I had a coffee after finishing lunch. Hey, Kyle, did you have a coffee after finishing lunch? Yes, I did. I always have a coffee after finishing lunch. Well, not always. When I eat at home, I don't usually, but if I have lunch anywhere else, I always have a coffee. And really, I would like to cut down on my coffee. Do you know what that means? To reduce my consumption. I'd like to cut down on my coffee consumption and my caffeine consumption in general. Yeah, really. Yes. Now, did you learn to play the guitar after buying one? So you bought one, and what am I going to do with this? I don't even know how to play. So I'd better learn to play it. Did you learn to play the guitar after buying one? Yes, I learned to play the guitar after buying one. Ask me if I got excited after hearing the news. Kyle, did you get excited after hearing the news? Yes, I got excited after hearing the news. Ask me if I bought a new phone after seeing the new models. Kyle, did you buy a new phone after seeing the new models? No, I didn't. No, I didn't buy a new phone after seeing the new models. I'm not the type of person that needs the latest technology. No. So I don't usually rush out and buy new gadgets, right? New devices, new gadgets for high-tech things. They don't impress. Well, they do impress me, but I don't feel that I need them. So I don't usually rush out to buy the newest MP3 player or whatever. I'm not so interested in that. No. Ask me if she celebrated after winning the match. Did she celebrate after winning the match? Right. Did she celebrate after winning the match? So here, after plus gerund. No problem, right? Piece of cake. Good. Now we can move on to talk about something else we were talking about yesterday, which is cents a liter or dollars a liter or euros a liter. Olive oil sells for about 3 euros a liter, or a little less than 3 euros a liter. When I was in Canada, when I was 16 years old, I got my first, well, not really my first job. I started working when I was about 14, mowing lawns, cutting grass, right? Mowing lawns, and we could say cutting grass. That's easier to understand, but we say to mow the lawn, cortar césped, to mow lawns, to mow the lawn. I would mow my lawn because my father obliged me to. He said, Kyle, mow the lawn today. And I said, okay. So I mowed the lawn, and then I started mowing neighbors' lawns. They would give me maybe $8 to mow a lawn. It took me about 2 hours. So I made $4 an hour, which at the time was a reasonable wage when you were 15. It was okay. Then I started when I was 16. In fact, the day I turned 16, which is in Canada, you legally have to be 16 years old to work, to work and pay taxes and have a paycheck through a real company. So when I turned 16, it was the 23rd of June, and on the next day, the 24th of June, I started work. And I started working in a supermarket. And I worked there for a few months in the summer, and we had 5 products. It was called a sort of a discount supermarket, and I was responsible. Basically, there were a lot of people in the supermarket, and I would bag the groceries. I didn't touch money. I just stood next to the person, the cashier, who was processing the transactions. Beep beep beep, scanning the items and putting them into pass them through, and I would put them in bags so that we could get the customers through faster. So I was bagging groceries, and I was mopping floors, and I was stocking shelves, right? Putting stuff on the shelf. And we had 5 products that we in the town. See, there were 2 supermarkets in the town, and we refused to be beat on price on these 5 products. We said we will never be we will never be beat on price on these 5 items. And they were milk, which was a 2-liter container of milk, a 2-liter carton, which sold for maybe $2.50 or something similar. And sugar. And this is where it gets grammatically relating to the point here. These 1 kilogram bags of, actually no, they were half a kilogram. But if I calculated it, I remember one day the sugar was 57 cents a kilogram. And people, every baker in town, every woman would come, or man, but typically these women that would bake a lot of things, pies and so on, would come with their car, and they would fill the back of their car with sugar because it was so cheap, 57 cents. Actually, I think it was 57 cents a pound, not kilo. It was 57 cents a pound for a few days. Bananas, we wouldn't be beat on bananas on price. We refused to be beat on price. So we would get into pricing wars sometime with the other supermarket. They would say, oh, well, we're going to sell our bananas for 60 cents. So we said, okay, 57. So we would monitor our prices. Bread, another. Our bread was sometimes 80 cents a loaf. 80 cents a loaf, we say. The loaf is the sort of, entre comillas, American bread, let's say, that style. It's not the baguette, but the American style, cut into slices, the loaf of bread, and we refused to be beat on price. So $1 a loaf, we would say. Come and get it. It's only $1 a loaf. 57 cents a pound for the sugar. Eggs were $1 a dozen. It's true, they were $1 a dozen. And the reason I'm laughing is because that's kind of an expression. It's an expression to say something is a dime a dozen, Una docena, a dozen. If we say it's a dime a dozen, we don't act. Now, a dime is 10 cents. A dime is the North American 10-cent coin in both Canada and the United States. We use a dime. But to say something is a dime a dozen means they're very plentiful, right? And they say, I'm not going to buy a shirt like that. Everybody has them. They're a dime a dozen. Everybody has them. They're plentiful and easy to acquire. It's a dime a dozen. So $1 a dozen is sort of another. You might hear someone say that, meaning that's very plentiful. Those are $1 a dozen. They're a dime a dozen. But our eggs, I remember, were, the prices would fluctuate, but our eggs were often $1 a dozen. Yeah. Now, olive oil prices, like I said earlier, I believe olive oil now is about €2.80 a liter. It depends on the supermarket. €3 a liter. Okay, so quantifying price using the currency and also the size of or volume of the product. Moving on now, it's time to get into the material for class number 105. But first, our expression of the day.
Expression of the day.
Yes, that's right. It is time for the expression of the day. Yesterday, we saw the expression clear as mud. If someone speaks to me in German and they say, do you understand? And I'd say, oh, yeah, sure, clear as mud, meaning it's not clear at all. But the opposite is clear as a bell. Clear as a bell. Bing. Now, I don't mean clear as in transparent, but a sound is very clean. The sound of a bell, ding, holding a nice tone. That bell, that ringing of the bell, that nice sound, we consider that to be a clear sound. And if we say something is clear as a bell, then we understand it. It's as clear as a bell. But we also use this to talk about hearing a signal. For example, on the telephone, can you hear me? What? I can't hear you. I can't hear you because there's a lot of interference. And then we improve. Can you hear me now? We've improved the signal so you can hear me now. Can you hear me as clear as a bell? Yes, I can hear you clear as a bell. I understand you because it is as clear as a bell. So sometimes when I call my brother who lives in Malaysia, I can't hear him, and I say, I'm going to have to call you back tomorrow because I can't hear you. And then the next day I call him back, and it's maybe the phone connection is great, the line sounds good, and I say, you're as clear as a bell. I can hear you perfect. You're as clear as a bell. Yeah. Okay, so clear as a bell. Easy to hear, easy to understand. Clear as a bell, our expression of the day. Moving on now into class number 105. We're going to talk about the structure on doing something and whilst doing something. On entering the room, I saw my favorite student. This is like saying, at the moment that I entered the room. When I entered the room, at that moment, on entering the room. We can also use the word upon, which you may know from children's stories. Once upon a time, upon, U-P-O-N. But we can also use on, followed by the gerund, and say, on entering the room, I saw my favorite student. Yes, on entering the room. On seeing his reaction, I asked him what was wrong. Right? The moment that I saw his reaction, on seeing his reaction, I asked him what was wrong. Did you cry on hearing the news? Did you cry on hearing the news? I could say, did you cry upon hearing the news? No, I didn't. I didn't cry on hearing the news. I didn't cry upon hearing the news. And then we have whilst doing. So we're putting an action into another period. So Mientras hacía una cosa, whilst doing something, my phone rang, right? Whilst teaching the class, my phone rang. Okay. Ask me if I check my email whilst having lunch. Kyle, do you check your email whilst having lunch? Sometimes, yes. Sometimes I check my email whilst having lunch. Ask me if I drink water whilst recording the show. Kyle, do you drink water whilst recording this show? Yes, I do. I drink water. I very often drink water whilst recording the show. Okay, so whilst.
Vocabulary of the day.
Ah, you heard that sound? You heard the jingle. That's right, it is time for the vocabulary of the day. That's right, that's what it means. It is time for our 5 words of vocabulary. The first word today, Nochevieja. This is New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve is the 31st of December, and the 1st of January is New Year's Day. Right. Number 2, the second word, desmantelar. Desmantelar. To dismantle. To dismantle. Essentially, to take apart. To take something apart is to dismantle it. Marino. Marinero. Sailor. Sailor. Yes. Roncar. Roncar. To snore. The verb to snore. Hombro. Hombro is shoulder. Shoulder. Is your shoulder sore? No, my shoulder isn't sore. Okay, very good. Now, we only have a minute left, but I would like to start our
Translation.
Yes, you heard it again with the little jingle there, indicating translation this time. I'm going to start translation list number 31. We'll try maybe 3 of these, and then we can leave the rest for tomorrow. Me lo estoy pasando bomba. Absolutely true. You can tell, can't you? Me lo estoy pasando bomba. I'm having a blast. Of course. I'm having a blast over here. Yeah, I'm having a blast. Number 2. A medida de que se retiraban, volaban todos los puentes que cruzaban. A bit of military strategy here. As they retreated, they blew up every bridge they crossed. They blew up. They blew up every bridge they crossed. Number 3. Digamos que es solo una corazonada. Let's say it's only a corazonada? Hunch. Let's say it's only a hunch. Let's say it's only a hunch. Okay, we're completely out of time. We are more than out of time, so I have to finish the class now, but we'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back, at least, and we will look through all of this list. We'll review it all, so please study list number 31 at home. You can see it on the TV tonight. Study the list, practice it, and we'll review it tomorrow. Okay? See you soon. Bye-bye.